Welcome to the 15-Minute Financial Feast podcast, bringing you 15-minute segments to help you retire with purpose on time. We're serving up food for thought and bread for the head. Are you hungry to learn? Here are your hosts, Mark Triplett and Troy Westendorf.
During this episode of the 15-Minute Financial Feast podcast, we're listening in on Troy Westendorf and Mark Triplett's Lunch and Learn series, where they covered a wide variety of retirement and tax planning strategies to help you retire with purpose on time.
Hey everyone, how you doing today?
Guys.
Welcome to our Lunch and Learn. My name is Mark Triplett,
Troy Westendorf.
and today we're going to share with you a little food for thought, some bread for the head. Today's topic specifically is long-term care. Long-term care is an event, not insurance. And today we're going to be specifically talking about what is long-term care, what is a long-term care event, what's the cost, and who ultimately ends up paying for that, and then how do I protect my family against such an experience. So, Troy, let's just start off with, we hear a lot about long-term care, and actually we get a lot of questions about long-term care. Is it insurance? But what is actual long-term care?
Yeah, so when you look at long-term care, and like you said it best, we always say it's not insurance, it's an event, and it's a high probability of happening. So we know that, and you had a list online here not long ago, the longtermcare.gov, and that will give you what the long-term care definition is, a range of services and supports that you need to meet for your personal care needs. And they'll go through the activity daily livings, and you always hear about that. It's, the bathing, the dressing, the using the toilet, the transferring from a bed or from a chair, the incontinence, the eating, all these things define long-term care. And when someone thinks of long-term care, they think, well, I don't want to be in a long-term care facility.
Or nursing home,
or nursing home.
Usually
Yes,
hear that.
nursing home. I'm not going to nursing home. And that's fine, but it's not necessarily a nursing home. So sometimes, let's say you fall and break a hip. You have to go to the surgery. They don't want to keep you in the hospital until you recover, until you fully recover, until you can go home. And that's where another piece of long-term care can come into effect. You go to a facility, maybe a rehabilitation type of thing, until you're well enough to go home. So it's not necessarily, I'm going to be permanently stuck in a nursing home. Now, that can happen, but a lot of, when you think of long-term care, a lot of things outside of the nursing home can happen that this can be used for. And that's a lot of times people don't think of, because they automatically assume, I am not going to a nursing home.
Yeah, and they're as far as long-term care, it's really defined as needing assistance with 2 of the 6 activities of daily living.
Yes.
And so there are 6 activities of daily living. If you need assistance from somebody else other than yourself to perform at least 2 of those, that is considered a long-term care event. And that can happen to folks needing assistance with transferring themselves from the bed to the chair, or just eating, bathing,
dressing.
And so it's a whole host of different things. And those events are often brought on by chronic illness, and chronic illness can be from onset adult diabetes, arthritis, dementia, Parkinson's, lung disease, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, many different diseases as we age that could contribute to a situation where we're incapacitated and unable to perform 2 of those 6 activities of daily living, and needing the care of somebody else or the assistance of somebody else. And it could be 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 2 decades.
Right.
It really, and it doesn't mean going into a nursing home. There could be assisted living facilities or in-home care.
In-home care, absolutely.
And the reality is that there's about a 70% chance that a 65-year-old person today is going to have a long-term care event.
Yes.
And that's not our statistics. That's from longtermcare.gov. If you visit their website, you can get a little bit more educated on what is long-term care and what does it cost. We're going to cover some of that today, but it's a great resource. It's longtermcare.gov. And they estimate that 7 out of 10.
Yeah, 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10 65-year-olds will have some sort of long-term care event. That doesn't mean going to a nursing home. In fact, 80% of the care delivered is either assisted living or in-home care. Only about 20% is actually delivered in a nursing home. So most people are receiving this type of care in their home or an assisted living community of some sort.
I have a family member now that's having the in-home care. So you don't have to go to the nursing home facility, which is huge because nobody wants to go there. But someone comes in a couple days a week and does some in-home health care. So that is long-term care. That's what this is for.
Okay.
So second, Mark, on this topic, how do we pay for it? So what is the cost? When someone thinks of long-term care, what is an average cost of a long-term care facility or getting that help from a long-term care?
Sure. So the cost of care can vary widely from state to state. There's a national average, and then state by state, there are individual averages, and then you can get down to the city level. And a really great tool that I like to use is actually put together by an insurance company called Genworth.
Okay.
Maybe you've heard of them before, but Genworth has a really great website specifically giving details on this particular topic. Here, let me pull this up and share it with you guys. And on their particular website, you can go down to the state level and see what the hourly, daily, or monthly or annual cost of care is. And the median cost in Iowa for in-home care, so stuff that we would consider somebody coming into your home and assisting,
right?
The median cost is about $49,000, just under $50,000 a year. Pardon me, scratch that's inaccurate. $57,000 to $60,000 depending on the type of care in home. Assisted living facility, on the other hand, is about $50,000 a year. Okay, for a semi-private nursing home room, so that 20% of the care that's actually delivered in the nursing home, where somebody actually has to go to a nursing home. A semi-private room, meaning you're sharing a room with somebody else who is not one of your relatives.
Right.
This is a stranger,
right.
At least in the beginning. Maybe you get to know each other at some point.
Right.
But a semi-private room is going to cost you upwards of $80,000. A private room is going to cost you about $86,000. Now, if you just break down to a particular region, we went to the Des Moines area, you can see the cost there change quite a bit. So, it really does matter where you live and where you're receiving that care. And I think a lot of folks are surprised to find out that Medicare doesn't cover this.
Right.
So
that's usually one of the things that we get. Well, do I really need it? Because doesn't Medicare cover it?
Yeah, and Medicare will not cover unskilled care. So if you have a child or a relative coming in to help you, they're not going to cover any of that. They will cover some limited skilled care, but it's only for a short period of time, about 100 days in a skilled care facility, a rehabilitation facility. If you actually need in-home care services, or you go to an assisted living facility, or heaven forbid, you have to go to a nursing home, you're going to be the one paying for it. That is until you run out of all of your assets. It's called spend down. You're required to spend down your assets first. Then Medicaid would take over at that point. Government program would step in. But you have to spend all of your resources down first. All of your retirement accounts, just think about all of your assets that you have. I think you can have like right around $2,000, $3,000 in cash. Don't quote me on that. You can visit the website. I was a nice website on that, but you're very limited on what resources you can keep. Now, your spouse, if you're married, can have some assets retained. I think it's about $100,000 plus the home plus a car. But basically, if you're not thinking that you're going to be paying for this, the government's going to be paying for it. That's true only after you've spent down all of your assets first. Then Medicaid will step in. So what often happens is that folks end up relying on family members, relatives. And oftentimes those caregivers happen to be women in the family. So I think one of the statistics I thought that was pretty interesting, I found this from one of the insurance companies that offers long-term care insurance. This was a statistic from them that 1 in 3 recent retirees regularly spend time caring for aging loved ones. And the majority of those were actually women who were taking care of an aging relative. So it really becomes a burden on families when there was nothing planned ahead. So, with that in mind, Troy, how do we protect our families? How do we protect our children and our nieces and nephews and living relatives from the burden of this long-term care event?
Yeah. So first off, it's always better to talk about this and plan for it before the event happens. It's kind of like life insurance. You want to get life insurance while you're healthy, not once something happens like, oh my gosh, no, I need life insurance. Well, now you can't get it.
Or how about the commercial where the guy crashes his car and he calls the insurance agent while he's sitting in the car up against the tree and it's smoking? That's too late to have that conversation. When you actually need that care, you're incapacitated perhaps and not able to make those decisions. That is not the time to be having these discussions with your family.
So we tell our clients to have the discussion. First off, does it make sense to have a long-term care policy? If not, how are you going to compensate the one that's coming in to take care of you? Whether that's a family member, a son or a daughter, whoever sets that up, how are they going to be compensated? If we do need a long-term care policy, how much of that expense do we want covered? Do we want to cover some of the expense, part of the expense, or all of the expense?
Or none of it.
Or none of it.
And
we've had
keep our fingers crossed that it doesn't happen to us.
Right. So we go through all that, and then what is the benefit to me versus the cost? What's the trade-off? How much am I getting in benefit if I have this policy versus how much is it going to cost me if I don't have this policy?
Yeah.
And then you have to look at, do you want a family member coming in and taking care of you? The plan sounds great until it happens. Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to have, my daughter or whoever coming in taking care of me when I can't take care of myself.
Well, and it's not a comfortable conversation to have, but it's better to have it when you're of sound mind and body years before the situation occurs. And, we always like to have this conversation with our clients and asking, look at the person next to you, look at your spouse. Are you physically capable of picking that person up without their assistance and moving them from the bed to the chair? Are you physically capable of helping that person get dressed in the morning or bathe and so on and so forth? If the answer is no, and you're going to need assistance doing so, then who's going to help you? Is it going to be a son? Is it going to be a daughter, a son-in-law, a daughter-in-law? If it's your son's family and it's your daughter-in-law, does your daughter-in-law know you're coming to live with them in that case? And how does she feel about that? Have these discussions now, not at that time, because unfortunately we see this play out too often. And it's actually a lot of clients that we work with who are dealing with this with their parents now, and they're seeing the impact of this adult person who they looked up to their entire life, who's now unfortunately not able to care for themselves and needs their assistance. And it's mentally really, really stressful.
Yeah. It might be something, maybe I can do it now when I'm 60. Yeah. But how about when I'm 70 or 75? Can I be picking up someone
or
physically
80.
moving them, or 80? And a lot of times we jokingly hear, if I have to go to a nursing home, just push me off a cliff or push me off a dock. Well, so far we haven't found a family member that would do that.
No, it doesn't work that way. It sounds good in theory, but the reality is that it's not going to happen.
And the reality is nobody wants to go to a nursing home. Nobody wants to experience any of this. But the reality is, when you talk 7 out of 10 people, it's something that we have to talk about, and we have to have a plan in place.
And kind of to wrap up our lunch and learn topic today, that really long-term care is an event. It's not insurance. There is insurance you can buy to transfer all of that risk if you want to. If you choose to, you pay premiums for that. There are various different policies that you can purchase, from everything from something like you would buy auto insurance where you pay for something, but you hope you never have to use it, to now some of the companies have gotten really creative and tied together life insurance policies that allow you to access the death benefit in the event you need care. That way, you're not paying for lost leader. If you don't need it, it's going to go to your beneficiaries tax-free. But even if you decide you don't want to transfer any of the risk, you want to bear that burden yourself. In that instance, that's okay. Just understand the risks associated with a long-term care event. Understand that it's going to involve others and going to impact other people around you, and have that discussion now. Have that discussion while you're capable to have it, versus waiting until you're at a point where you need it and you're in a situation where you have limited choices.
Yeah.
And it's not a comfortable conversation to have, but if it's something you want to bring up with us and have that discussion, then if you're a client of ours, we're going to talk to you about it anyway. You already know that.
Yeah.
But if you're not a client of ours and this is something you have questions about, it's okay to talk to us. Even if you don't feel comfortable talking to your family, we can talk in confidence about your concerns and try to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, it's much easier to talk about now than
it is
at the time of the event.
So
As hard
we
as it
hope
is.
you guys found value in today's lunch and learn topic. Found it informative, and we'll be launching our February list of lunch and learns here soon. You can expect to get a message with the upcoming topics for next month. Until then, just remember that every dollar has a purpose.
Every dollar has a timeline.
So go out and make sure you're retiring with purpose.
And on time.
See you
Take
next
care,
week.
guys.
Bye.
See ya.
You've been listening to the 15-Minute Financial Feast podcast. Remember, every dollar has a purpose and every dollar has a timeline. If you have questions about today's topic, schedule a call with a team member. Visit www.mypt5.com. Until next time, be sure you're taking steps to retire with purpose on time. Mark Triplett is an investment advisor representative of and advisory services offered through Royal Fund Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Nothing contained in this program should be considered an offer to buy or sell securities. Different investments have different risks associated with them, and not all investments are appropriate for all investors.